When you think of the Cardinals' legendary pitchers in their franchise history, you probably think of names like Haines, Burkeen, Dean, Gibson, Carlton, Tudor, Carpenter, and Wainwright, just to name a few, because those men threw absolute gems along the banks of the mighty Mississippi. And with that resume, you'd think that the Cardinals would be near the top of the list when it comes to no-hitters, right? Not so much. In their entire storied history, the Cardinals have thrown just 10 no-hitters by 9 different pitchers, which is fewer than 13 other Major League franchises. And from the long list of arms that I just mentioned, only 2 of them, Jesse Haines and Bob Gibson, threw one while wearing a Cardinal uniform. Cardinal Hall of Famer Bob Forsch might be one of the easier names for Cardinal fans to remember because he is the only Cardinal to throw multiple no-hitters, one in 1978 and one in 1983. But if I asked Cardinal fans to name the other 2 most recent Cardinal pitchers to throw a no-hitter, that's where things might get a little fuzzy. The first of those 2 was by a 25-year-old rookie named Jose Jimenez, who no-hit the Diamondbacks in 1999. And in that game, Jimenez actually outdueled a 6'10" lefty who, in my opinion, has one of the greatest dirty names of all time, Hall of Famer Randy Johnson. And Jimenez went on to have a solid career, mostly as a reliever, but he's not the focus of today's story. Today's Random Cardinal of the Week is the next guy on that list. Another rookie, a lefty, and a pitcher whose major league career barely lasted longer than a cup of coffee. A man whose name I think is absolutely perfect for the St. Louis Brewing tradition. A man named Robert Allen Bud Smith. Bud Smith is a California native who was drafted by the Cardinals in the 4th round of the 1998 draft straight out of high school. And from the jump, it was clear that Smith could absolutely pitch. In 1999, he won 8 games in A-ball with a sub-3 ERA. And the following year, the year 2000, he went a combined 17-2 between Double and Triple A, posting an ERA of 2.26 over 163 innings. And those numbers were good enough for Baseball America to name Smith 39th in their top 100 prospects list entering the 2001 season. He was also named the Cardinals' top prospect entering that season, just in front of a man you've probably heard of before, a young Dominican outfielder named Albert Pujols. Despite the optimism surrounding Smith entering the 2001 season, he opened the season in AAA Memphis and finally made his Major League debut on June 10th, 2001, and tossed a scoreless inning against the Rockies. A week later, he made his first Major League start against the White Sox and picked up his first Major League win, throwing 5 2/3 innings and striking out 4. Over the next 2 months, Bud Smith really did stabilize the Cardinals' rotation, and it was a rotation that included names like Matt Morris, Andy Bennis, Dustin Hermanson, and of course the late Darryl Kyle. In Smith's first 8 starts in the major leagues, he went 3-1 with an ERA of 3.14, and in many of those starts, he pitched at least 6 innings, which is not bad at all for a 21-year-old rookie. But then came 2 rough starts. One loss against the Reds and another against the Padres, which set the stage for what happened next. Monday night, September 3rd, 2001, in San Diego. The Padres roster that Bud Smith faced that night wasn't exactly soft. They had Hall of Famer Rickey Henderson leading off. They had Ryan Klesko hitting third, who was in the middle of a career year where he hit 30 homers and 113 RBIs. Former Cardinal Ray Lankford was also in that lineup, as well as Hall of Famer Tony Gwynn, who really needs no introduction. And early in that game, the Cardinals jumped out to a lead thanks to a 2-run homer in the first inning by fellow rookie Albert Pujols. And after that, Bud Smith went to work. In the bottom of the first, he struck out Rickey Henderson looking. And inning by inning, the hits for the Padres simply never came. By the 5th inning, Smith was already up to 70 pitches. And after the game, Cardinal pitching coach Dave Duncan admitted that letting Smith continue in that game really went against his better judgment, but he let him stay in the game. In the 8th inning, Smith's no-hitter nearly ended. Tony Gwynn was pinch hitting and chopped a ball up the middle, that looked like it might be ticketed towards center field, but Edgar Renteria ranged to his left, fielded it cleanly, and threw him out. In the ninth, Smith walked D'Angelo Jimenez with one out, only to retire Ryan Klesko on a ground out, and finally, on the 134th pitch of his evening, Bud Smith got Phil Nevin to hit a comebacker to the mound. Smith fielded it cleanly, tossed to Pujols at first, and was instantly mobbed by his teammates on the mound. Smith's final line that day, 9 innings, no hits, 4 walks, and 7 strikeouts, which ultimately ended up being the most strikeouts that Bud Smith would ever record in a Major League game. Following his no-hitter, Bud Smith was named National League Player of the Week, but his achievement was quickly overshadowed because just 1 week later, the nation and baseball shut down following the tragic events of September 11th. When play resumed, Smith made 3 more starts, finishing the season 4th in NL Rookie of the Year voting, behind his teammate Albert Pujols, who ultimately won Rookie of the Year that season. And then came 2002, and everything fell apart for Bud Smith. In 11 appearances, Smith went 3-8 with a 6.94 ERA and walked as many batters as he struck out. And finally, on July 29, 2002, Bud Smith was traded along with infielder Placido Polanco and reliever Mike Timlin to the Phillies for third baseman and future Hall of Famer Scott Rowland. Smith would never pitch in the majors again, only making 6 appearances above the Double-A level in both the Phillies and Twins organizations. And after pitching the 2006 and 2007 seasons in Indie Ball, Smith retired from baseball at the age of 27. Bud Smith still remains the most recent Cardinal to throw a no-hitter, and he also holds the distinction of being the most recent Cardinal to wear jersey number 51, which, in my opinion, should obviously be retired for Cardinal legend Willie McGee. And Smith actually changed that number midway through the 2001 season to number 52, which is the number that he threw his no-hitter in. Smith was a pitcher with one unforgettable night, and unfortunately a career that burned fast and vanished just as quickly. Cardinals pitchers have come close to no-hitters since 2001. Michael Wacha actually lost 2. One in the 9th inning in 2013 against the Nationals, and another in the 9th inning in 2018 against the Pirates. Miles Michaelis most recently lost one with 1 strike left against the Pirates in 2022. And even last season, Sonny Gray threw one of the most dominant outings by a Cardinals starter, throwing a 1-hitter. But no one has been able to finish the job. And while Cardinals fans dream of the next Gibson or the next Wainwright and wonder who the next ace of this Cardinals franchise is going to be, another question that Cardinals fans should be asking themselves is, who's going to be the next Bud Smith?